So I'm still getting lots of questions on metabolic damage, metabolic disruption, what it all means. Most of you are still looking for signs of pending metabolic damage when you're already showing signs of metabolic damage or metabolic disruption already happening. For instance, in the post-diet period, many of you are writing me and asking me, making statements like you can't really tell anymore when you're really hungry and when you're really full, and you're wondering if this is a warning sign of metabolic damage. That's a consequence of metabolic disruption, metabolic damage. It means you're already in it. You've already created disruption in the metabolic sequence. You have to remember, with metabolism, you're locked into always thinking of it in terms of digestion and physical appearance and body weight. It also is major components in the brain, how our brains evolved to deal with hunger, appetite, cravings. What we call the satiety center is actually controlled in the brain. So when you can no longer tell if you're hungry or when you're satiated or full or had enough food, that's a sign that you're already not maybe damaged, but disrupted metabolism in a negative way and on your way to metabolic damage. So don't confuse consequences with warning signs. That's number one. Another way to tell us if you've negatively disrupted metabolism is after a diet indiscretion or a diet indulgence, what happens over the next few days. If your body gets rid of that extra weight, bam, then your metabolism is humming along pretty good, actually. That's a good sign of a cooperative, optimal functioning metabolism. However, if in the course of the next few days your body is holding on to that weight or holding on to even more weight than it should for what you indulged in, that the weight doesn't really justify what you ate, and you're confused about that, along with the other physical signs of distension or bloating or water retention, etc., then that's also a sign of metabolic disruption, and usually metabolic downregulation as well. Not a good sign. So these are things you can look for, but they aren't warning signs of metabolic disruption. They are actual consequences of already being in a state of metabolic disruption. So these are things you need to pay attention to. It's too bad that there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there about factors to do with dieting and metabolic disruption, metabolic damage. But I'm trying to set the record straight, but unfortunately there's a lot of pseudo-gurus online that are confusing the issue even more. So those are some things to consider, things to look at in terms of metabolic disruption, and keep sending your questions and I'll get around to them when I can.